I'm a former mayor out in West Valley, served just 4 years. I'm a business owner, I'm a family man with 3 children, and one that's special needs. So I understand a wide variety of issues in the healthcare dealing with Obamacare, which needs to be repealed. But my focus as running for this seat is to deal with our border security, our illegal immigration, and dealing with Social Security. My wife in 2008, who was here this evening, became one of those many Americans, immigrants that become an American citizen. And we did it by the rule of law, we did it by the book. So to me, illegal immigration is no dream act, no amnesty. It's a slap in the face to all those Americans who come through Ellis Island. We are the richest land and we are the richest country in the world, but let's do it by the book. Let's do it right. Earlier this evening, a number of them have spoken about this, and my take on immigration is very simple. We have more visas being issued to the Muslim Brotherhood into this country than ever time before. We need to change immigration completely around. It's time to bring in what we need for our country. But then we have education that's a concern. It's time to bring states' rights back to Arizona. It's the right for the leaders of this state to make decisions that benefit you, your children, and your grandchildren, not the federal level. It's time to shut down agencies such as the EPA, OSHA, the Treasury Department. All these are unconstitutional. These are the things that I will fight for you as your next U.S. Senator for the state of Arizona. Folks, I love this country. I care about it. It's been good to me. And it's my time to give back and give you your chance to have a great future. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I know you have lots of valuable things and demands on your time, especially around the 4th of July. And so I appreciate you coming here to become better educated about this and other elections. It's an honor to have you here. I'm Will Carter. I'm a 5th generation Arizona. I grew up here, went to Mesa Mountain View High School, grew up building service stations and learning the value of hard work. I went on to BYU, played as a wide receiver at BYU, and went on a Mormon mission to Portugal for 2 years. Then came back and transferred to Stanford, where I played football for Bill Walsh. And then I came home here and started an auto leasing company, which I sold a couple of years later on, and went back to Harvard Business School. And from there, I came back to finish working my way up in the family business, and I've run the family business, not using any debt, for the last 12 years as president and CEO. Which brings me to why I'm running for the Senate. I'm sick and tired of career politicians who have gone back to Washington, D.C., who have made promises and not kept them. I believe now more than ever we need business people. We need people who go back to Washington, D.C. who actually sign the front of a paycheck, not just the back. By the way, John Kyle, a man who we admire, spent 20 years before he went back to Washington, D.C. as an attorney. He's not a career politician. He's not what other people like to represent as a career politician. We need people who go back to Washington, D.C. right now who are part of the solution, not part of the problem. The second thing I think we need are outsiders. We don't need people, and with all due respect to Congressman Flake, we don't need people who take millions of dollars from Washington special interest groups. And we're beholden to those Washington special interest groups. You've seen the ads. Those ads don't bother me. What bothers me is that special interest groups like that can come and try and buy an election. And I proposed to Congressman Flake 3 or 4 months ago that Washington special interest groups not come in, and that we would both sign a pledge together. That if they did, we would take the money and give it to charity of our opponent's choice. Congressman Flake, for 3 months, didn't do that. Still hasn't done that. It's been done in other states and it's worked. And it's sad that we're letting that go on here. I believe we need outsiders in Washington, D.C. right now, not people who are bought and paid for by Washington, D.C. And the third thing I think we need are consistent, reliable conservatives. People who do what they say they're going to do and don't flip-flop on important issues to Arizona based on what office they're seeking. People who, on immigration, didn't promote amnesty and in-state tuition for illegal aliens for a decade, and then come back and say, well, now I've had a change of heart and I'm running for the Senate. People who are for less taxation on business. not as private citizens being accused on TV of being responsible for tax. I'd like to be a politician, but I'm not one yet. I don't know how I was responsible for a tax. I didn't write it like some other taxes. And people who are consistent on other issues, like supporting Israel, like protecting this country, voting to fund the troops while they're out in battle in Iraq, who will not think that the military is a social experiment by repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell. We need, again, consistent, reliable conservatives. I've never been a lobbyist. I haven't taken a single dollar from Washington, D.C. I'm not bought and paid for by them. I'm a simple businessman, an outsider, and a consistent, reliable conservative. And I think that's the skill set we need in Washington, D.C. right now. And I hope I can earn everyone's vote here. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you all for being here. As Will mentioned, it's tough to be here the week of the 4th of July in the Valley of the Sun when it's this warm. I know you could be other places, so thank you for inviting us to this forum. We're honored to be here, all of us. I'm running for the Senate because the federal government is too big and it taxes and regulates too much. That's been the case for a long time. It's still the case. And we saw an example this week, Exhibit 1, of where we're going the wrong direction with Obamacare. We've got to change the direction of the federal government. And in order to do that, we've got to change who's in control of the Senate. Democrats had a very good year in 2006, which means they have a lot of seats to defend now. Of the 33 Senate seats open, 23 are defended by Democrats. We've got to hold this seat in Arizona and then pick up a net of 4. And so we can do the first thing we need to do when we get back to Washington is repeal Obamacare. And after that, we need to do a lot of other things as well. You know, it's interesting running in a race as the only elected official. Anybody who's been in Washington for one term has cast a couple thousand votes. If you've been there for a couple of terms, you've cast several thousand votes. I can guarantee you that if somebody wants to find a vote to portray you as liberal on this or too conservative on this or too much or too little, they can find it. Because every vote you cast, very few of them are on single subject bills. They're multi-subject bills. And so beware when you see one vote portrayed as somebody as being liberal or whatever else. You look at the whole record. And if you look at my record, you'll find one that's extremely conservative. One where the National Taxpayers Union, when they rank every vote that members of Congress take with a tax or spending implication for 8 years straight, they rank me as the most fiscally conservative member of the House or the Senate. Not an A grade or a B grade, but the most, number 1 out of 535. And so if you see ads that try to portray something different, think to yourself. Please remember that. And let me say, another reason I'm running for the Senate is we've had great representation from Senator Kyle. A lot of us have been talking about with career politicians in Washington. I can tell you, Senator Kyle has been there for 4 terms in the House and 3 in the Senate. That's 26 years. I'm glad for every minute he spent there because he provided a conservative voice on the fiscal side, on the social side, and also was an advocate for Arizona. We've got to have somebody who understands, as Senator Kyle does, the importance of the Arizona issues, the rural issues, the multiple use issues on public land, Indian water settlements, forest health issues, you name it. He's been the go-to guy. We have to ensure that we elect somebody who will fill that void. I believe I'm that person. I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak to you today. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks for coming. For those of you who don't know me, my full name is Claire Jerome Marion Van Steenwijk, and that's usually why they call me Van. It's a lot easier. I'm a retired businessman from California, and retired for about, I retired from work at 55, got Social Security a few months ago. The reason I'm running is really very simple for me. I believe our country is going in the wrong direction. I believe that both elected officials, appointed officials, and people who help these officials get elected are to blame for this. Now, I've listened to all the things up here. I've been listening to this for years. I have a political talk show for some of you that know me. We discuss these same problems every 2 years. They change a little bit from the economy to immigration to NASA to this, but it never gets fixed. It's always going to get fixed. I come from a position position where if I didn't perform because of contracts I had that I worked with, a good deal of my salary came, if you want to call it, that was bonuses. When I didn't perform, I didn't get any money. And if I didn't get any money, the whole family suffered. I had people work for me that I made sure they got their bonuses because I made sure I got mine. Our government is out of control fundamentally because we've allowed it to be. We were so busy earning a living, paying attention to our families, that we allowed people to go to D.C. that made promises every 2 years, or every 4, or every 6, and never kept hardly a damn one of them. Excuse me. I was raised in a church similar to this and sat a lot of the time back there. I also spent a good deal of my time on a podium like this, teaching and doing Bible studies and conferences. But the problem here is bigger than what I think anybody's talked about tonight. Most of our elected officials, or all of them actually, swear to uphold and defend the Constitution of this country. Then they set about taking it apart, little by little. We've got rules and regulations that are stifling this country, and the only thing that's going to fix it is to reestablish the Constitution as the law of the land, not something just to quote from or wave a little book around. The 16th Amendment is what was basically used to allow Obamacare. So my recommendation is, why don't we just repeal it and set up a fair tax? Not a flat tax. Flat tax don't work because you have the IRS involved. You have got to have a fair tax in this country if you're going to have any freedom. The ability to tax is the ability to enslave, and that's exactly what our government has done to us. Now, they give to the poor to get their vote, then they give to the rich to get their vote, and what none of us seem to understand is they're setting this country up as a socialist country. We're on our way there. We're well on our way there, for those of you who don't believe that. Even our blessed Social Security system is unconstitutional, and a lot of people don't understand that. Now, for any of you who don't know me and aren't very familiar with me, I have a website called vanforusenate.com. We've got 14 issues on there, and they've been on there since last year. I modified them a little bit because issues would change, because the government did some more stupid things, which they seem to do on a regular basis. But this is our turn. You can either bring someone to Washington who doesn't care about the politicians, doesn't care about the golf, doesn't care about the dinners, doesn't care about the old boys club. And unlike my associates here, I do not regard highly our elected officials, Mr. McCain or Mr. Kyle. They have done things that are totally violating our rights. We've got an open border that's supposed to be closed. We have illegal immigration in this state that costs this state $2.5 billion a year, according to a meeting I had with Mr. Bennett. That doesn't include another billion for lost tax revenue and lower wages due to illegals. And that's just part of it. This country spends $150 billion plus a year on illegals, and our legislators don't do a thing to fix it. We build soundproof walls on freeways, and we have an open border so rapists, murderers, drug dealers can come into our country, but you can barbecue on the 4th of July in peace. There's something wrong with people that allow this to happen. This country has deteriorated morally over the years. I am a Christian constitutional Republican, and I resent us being the #1 exporter of pornography around the world. We're in what we call a church. This country has gotten so far from God, they don't recognize Him anymore. They call good evil and evil good. When you criticize somebody for doing something wrong, you're a bad person. So you're just supposed to look the other way. It's like giving a kid a candy bar for bad behavior and think he's going to change later. If we don't start removing the people that have been running this country for the last 20 to 30 years, we're all going to be in trouble. And I quite frankly, even as a Republican, I've been